Welcome back to Daybreak. It's now 32 minutes past 7 o'clock. That's 28 minutes to 8 o'clock. And it's time to speak to the Principal Secretary in charge of Housing and Urban Development. That is Charles Hinga. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Great. And you're here so that we can have that conversation about Kazi Mtaani. We know the initial reports are indicating that phase one should be concluding sometimes this week. Maybe you can give us an update of how far we've been, how many youths have benefited from all this, and the status of this program.
Thank you so much, and good morning to the viewers. This is Kazi Mtaani phase 2. It aims to employ about 280,000 youths across the country, in all the 47 counties, mainly in the urban areas and informal settlements. This complements what we had in phase 1, which was 33,000.
Right, so 33,000 plus 380,000 would take us to 313,000. But in terms of the benefits that have accrued, if you can hear me, the benefits that have accrued to these young people, talking about 33,000, what would you say it is?
The benefits, so first of all, it's important to understand that Kazi Mtaani is more of a social protection program. As you're aware, with all the measures and protocols that were put in place to deal with the COVID-19, most of them really affected people living in the urban areas. For example, when we began, when COVID hit our shores, the Ministry of Health advised us to stay at home. But majority of these people who live in the informal settlement, they are people who hustle from hand to mouth. So when they stay at home, most of them did suffer from, lack of basic things like food on the table. So that's the first thing that we're trying to address. And it is not the only social protection program that we are running. There is what we have cash transfers to the vulnerable. We Inua Jamii. So this is a combination of various programs that have targeted beneficiaries.
Right, and do you know that phase 1 of the program has benefited, I believe it's 8 counties. Just wondering, how do you identify these young people? Because we know that they are supposed to be those that are skilled and also those that are not skilled. How do you identify those that fall to be recruited into the program? So
we used the Nyumba Kumi structure. And the reason for that is because it is within those structures that they are able to identify who are people who are greatly affected. So we use the Nyumba Kumi structures together with our national government administrative structures, NGAO, to identify. So we published and we asked the young people to apply. And then they went through a selection criteria, which was 1, there has to be a demonstration that someone is in need. Number 2, you're not benefiting from another social protection program. Number 3, if in one household you can't have more than one person, so you can't have brother and sister, because we wanted to spread this particular program to cover as many people as possible.
And of course, there's a video that we have seen of a young lady who spoke somewhere in Elbagon. We'll be playing that shortly from now. But as you go to this second phase, 280,000 is the number that you gave out. How are these numbers distributed across the 47 counties?
So again, it's based on the urban population and also the number of informal settlements, also spread across the 59 municipalities. That's how they are spread, but we had a minimum to say that no county should get less than 2,000. So 2,000, and then we adjusted upwards. So you have Nairobi County taking about 20%, and then the big counties with the big informal settlements, we spread. So we are in about 900, just over 900 out of the 1,409 informal settlements. So we did not cover all of them, but we will still endeavor to expand the program and cover those that were not covered in the first phase.
Right, I'll get to the questions of sustainability, but before we do so, let's listen to this young lady that spoke in Elbagon.
Nimefurahi. Sasa sijui niko salama kabisa. Nimefurahi kukuona. Umefurahi kuniona? Sasa if we can dine together and talk more on paper, it will be better.
Thank you, Excellency. Asante. Okay, asante.
Right, and PS, of course, that's an uplifting moment for the young people there. But if you look at the crowd behind them, it shows you the number of people that are unemployed, not engaged, they don't have a sustainable livelihood. How does, I know you say that it's a social protection response, but what is the program, what is the plan to ensuring that these young people have something sustainable? Yes, we can sustain the cleanliness, the national hygiene, but at the same time provide for the young people opportunities that can be better for their lives.
Yeah, so that is correct. We have a sustainability plan around this. And the first thing that you will notice is that in our new Public Procurement and Disposal Act, the regulations which were published, I think, sometime last month, they have made provision for what we're calling community contracting. And it is government's position that going forward, we want to make sure that we focus on this type of engagement. So for example, when we look at our roads program, we want to move now towards getting community-based organization to come together, and we issue them with those type of contracts. In phase 2, we are going beyond the hygiene programs. So for example, you may, if you visit my Twitter, I posted a road that is being done in Moa Hills in Machakos, where the young people are using cobblestone to do the roads. Mm-hmm. So you have a situation whereby we have trained them to make cobblestones, and then also show them how to build the roads using the same. A lot of these informal settlements also, they have the roads are in a state of disrepair, so we are going to be using similar technologies. Mm-hmm. But also, we have a lot of, there's a need for public facilities. So for example, when schools reopen next year, we will need additional classrooms. So we are training young people to use things like stabilized soil blocks. And if you go, I think starting today in Makueni, there is a cohort that is doing about 30 new classrooms using these machines. Mm-hmm. You also look at places like Lodwar, where young people have been trained to do what we are calling urban agriculture along River Takwel. So we have got different types of engagements now, and this is what is going to keep them engaged beyond the 6.5 months. Okay. And then lastly is linking them with our municipalities. As you might be aware, we have just established 59 municipalities. About 2 weeks ago, we transferred about 9 billion to these municipalities to be able to put up urban infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So the municipal managers sit in our national steering committee, and the whole idea is also to make sure that the funds that we have allocated to them, they are able to come up with work plans that are able to absorb these young people, but more, because we still need a lot more to be brought on board. So it is government's policy going forward, okay, that this is how we are going to engage the young people by breaking down these big contracts into smaller community contracting. This morning we are starting something also with the forestry, where we are going to do not just tree planting, but we're talking about tree growing, which is very different. So I can go on and on and on and break it down for you. You go to Kiandutu in Thika, where young people are building toilets, mm-hmm, or ablution blocks, again using some of these technologies. So we are going beyond the normal hygiene programs. And if you allow me just one more minute, one of the things that we have discussed with the municipalities, for example, because things like solid waste management has been devolved even further from counties to municipalities, is we have organizations that are coming to the table and saying, if you create like 3-year contracts for this community-based organization, they will be able to fund the young people with trucks and with compactors, and that means that beyond this period, they will be able to have those assets that belong to them.
Right, and PS, I know we're running out of time, but before we conclude this, I want to ask you about, because you're also the PS Housing and Urban Development, how far are we the affordable housing program? Because there's a time that there was an agenda to have employers and employees contributing to a fund that didn't succeed. How are we doing with this, one of the big four agenda in the country?
Yeah, so obviously that was a bit of a setback because the importance of that housing fund was to be able to provide assurance to investors that if they undertake these housing schemes for the low cost housing. Remember, investors, when you talk to them, they are disincentivized to build for the lower cadres in our society because they make a lot more high margins from developing for people that earn 150,000 and above. So to be able to give them the comfort, that's why we needed a housing fund. But be as it may, we have restructured, we have engaged financial institutions, and we have written commitments from 7 banks, local banks, that are going to provide affordable mortgages to a tune of 338 billion. This is what we have as an initial undertaking. We also, as you saw maybe last week, we published quite a number of new settlements, about 33,000 housing units coming across the country, so we are inviting investors. We also have the big one coming, like in Portland, where we have about 4,500 acres. We are finalizing the evaluation as we speak right now. So you've got about 200,000 new city coming up there. We have Railway City, which we published last week. We have 130,000 housing units that we have approved on private development. So the plan is coming together, but remember that our housing sector has a systemic problem. That's what you have to fix first. You must have right policies, right incentives for you to be able to attract investors, because it is not government putting in money in housing.
With the numbers that you're mentioning there, the target was 500,000 units by 2022. Is that a possibility? You just have about 2 years.
Yes, it is a possibility. So if we ran through the numbers that I've mentioned to you, we are already sitting at about close to 515,000 units, and I can be able to tell you where they're going to be. But they're going to come in progressively. The most important thing that you need to sort out is the systemic issues. Once you sort out the systemic issues, the rest is going to fall into place. And remember, this has to be a program that has to go beyond 2022. So the ground is set, and we are ready, and we've got to start rolling out in big numbers.
All right, you sound very positive about the achievement of that vision. We'll hold you to account when it comes to 2022 August. We'll be looking at the numbers that we have achieved. As you said, that more than 515,000 are already being planned for. So thank you so much, Principal Secretary Charles Hinga, for speaking to us this morning. And that's our time in as far as the news review is concerned. Up next is Sporting Monday with Willis Rabur. Of course, the English Premier League has concluded. And he's telling me that now Manchester United is making its way back to the Champions League. So they have all that conversation after the break. I don't want to continue eating into their time. Bye.